In this video, guys, we're going to look at how we make sense of really choppy, confusing charts. Stay tuned. Hey guys, warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining me. Alright, so at the moment in time, there's a lot of charts out there that are choppy. They can be confusing. Right? You look at them and you go, what is going on? I happen to have Amazon up here, but this is definitely not the most confusing one. In fact, the ones that I wanted to look up were all the currency pairs. And now, the reason they are confusing, let's look at that, is just because, we're having such, let's go to a candlestick. Actually, we can have a candlestick on this one. They seem confusing because they're having big moves in one direction, big moves in the other direction, big moves back, big moves. And many traders are saying, hey, this is really tricky. I don't know, I'm trying to trade a continuation type trade. I'm getting stopped out, reversion. I'm just having a tough time getting my head around stuff. And if you even go to yen, you go to cable, they're all the same. Let's go back to USD, but a lot of them are the same. This is because the news flow is driving stuff, and we're kind of finding, a lot of negative news flow from one country and then negative news flow from another country. And, there's a lot of money flowing around, specifically at the moment when I film this with the coronavirus. But regardless of when you're watching this, the same kind of things apply, is that there's a lot going on. And, when the charts are doing this kind of thing, how do you decipher it? Well, the first thing first, guys, is you have to remember there's no necessity for you to trade. You do not have to trade. The beauty of us being retail traders is that we can wait for what we perceive is the best opportunity and then put our chips in the table, then make the bet, then take the risk. We don't have to trade. So always, always, always remember that, because that will stop you from, well, it will help stop you from taking impulsive trades just because something is moving. Wait for your setup and your edge. And regardless of what setup you take, regardless of what your strategy is, whether you're using your own strategy, it doesn't matter, it's irrelevant. The thing is, you're always looking for the right opportunity to take a trade where you can express the trade with a really sensible position for a stop. And the trouble you have with stuff like this that's whipping up and down is that it's hard sometimes to find a place to express the trade idea and still have a sensible stop. And so you get into this situation where you get a little bit frustrated because you're like, okay, I think it's a long, starts to go, but you don't find a little pullback to get long on because you can't with the stop, or you wait for a break and by then the stop's too wide. And you've got all these sort of fields of emotions backwards and forwards. So how do we deal with this situation? Okay, guys, what the best thing for us to do is to literally wait until you find something that suits your trading style. I know this is not the answer that you probably want to hear, but it is the best possible thing, is just to stand back and go, you know what? For example, you can say, I like trading euro normally, but at the moment it's chopping around. It's been up, it's been down. I don't know where it's going to go. Maybe it's going to break this, maybe it's going to break the low. You can just bracket it. Be very methodical and businesslike with it and say, I don't care what this asset is doing. I don't care that this asset's been good to me and I've had good trades from it before. It's trading a different style now, which I can't read as well. And so I don't have as much of an edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it. I'm going to put it on the shelf, so to speak. I'm going to set alerts for the high. I'm going to set alerts for the low. And I'm going to look at it again in a week. So if it breaks the high, I'm going to look at it. If it breaks the low, I'm going to look at it. And next week, I'm going to look at it in case it does some kind of nice pattern in between. Something like this kind of drive up, breakout through the high, a little bit of a reversal, and there's a little bit of a 3-day scalp to the upside, isn't it? That kind of bread and butter stuff. Now, for me, I've not been trading currencies at all in this situation. Loads of stuff going on the equities, and that's always been my go-to stuff anyway, the futures and individual assets. But still looking at these, still kind of working out where potentially things are going, looking at setups, looking at things, in the Japanese yen specifically at the moment currently, but it could change next week. But the point is, guys, is that when charts are like this, and in fact, let's put up GBP, JPY. When charts are like this, let's just clear some of that stuff off, and they seem that you can't have if you don't immediately see a chart and get a good feel for potentially where it's going to go, then that normally my gut instinct says leave it. Now that doesn't mean it's a trade, but it does mean that it's worth looking a little bit more. So you bring up a chart and you go, right, that immediately says bang, pullback buy, or immediately says pullback short, or fade short, or mean reversion, immediately. And then you go to the next step and go, right, how can I enter that trade with the least amount of risk possible? What do I need to see? What don't I want to see? Do I need to put an indicator on to help guide me? Do I need to wait until a certain period of time? What is it? And then you start to work it out. And most of the time the trade should fall flat on their face. Then you should be discarding them, looking for the next setup. But a few will pass all that filtering process, and a few then say, okay, if it gets to this level, I'll take the trade. If it does this, I'll take the trade. But when you have markets that are just, they look unusual. Now, some of you might say this is the perfect setup for you, and that's fine. But the point is, guys, that if whatever chart you look at, and I happen to use this as an example, but whatever chart you look at, if you look at it and go, I can't make sense of it, then you don't need to. You can discard it and you can come back. And I think that's the key thing, guys. Too many of us are trying to make sense of something that isn't our edge. Just because it's volatile doesn't mean there's an edge there. You know, quick up move and quick down move, you know, timing it might not be part of your style and part of the way you trade, in which case that's fine. Wait until it does get to a situation that matches your style and matches your trade. So if you've got a chart, guys, that doesn't immediately stand out, when you look at it, this is a possibility. Wanting you to dig deeper, set your alerts. Set your alerts for time, set your alerts for levels, and don't look at it again. Just casually look at it again in a week's time. Plenty of other stuff out there to watch, plenty of other stuff out there to trade. You don't have to be trading stuff that really doesn't tick your boxes, because there's opportunity everywhere. Take care, guys. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.